Hari, Jai Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Haribo, 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 Haribo. Nam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paribrajakachaja Stutarisita Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Nityalila Vishnu Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paribrajakachaja Ashtotarisita Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai.
Jai.
Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Go Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai.
Jai.
Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai.
Jai.
Navadvip Dham Ki Jai.
Jai.
Mayapur Dham Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jagannath Puri Nilachala Dham Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jagannath Dev Subhadra Maharani Ki Jai.
Jai.
Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai.
Jai.
Shri Shri Radha Sarat Bihari Ki Jai.
Jai.
Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan Jai.
Jai.
Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Samveda Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. Hari Nam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the simple devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the simple devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the simple devotees. All glories to Guru Shri Gauranga. Hari Bo. Hari Bo, Dharana Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Balabaja Prabhu.
Yeah.
Great to see you this morning.
Yeah, good to see you. I know you're tired, so I won't put too much pressure on you.
Okay.
You good?
Yes. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Happy to be here in Srimad Bhagavatam class.
Well, I had to join on my cell phone. I was trying to do my iPad, but nothing's working properly. So
It's okay.
let's see. I can't see anything on my screen.
Text number 12 should be up on the screen. I think Mother Shobharati has it shared. Do you see it, Prabhu?
Balabhadra Prabhu, you're muted.
Is that better?
There we go.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 We're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 50th canto, 99th verse.
We're all awake, Prabhu.
Okay, I'm just checking. First canto, first chapter, text number 12. So I'll read the verse and you can repeat after me. Sutta Janasi Badrante Bhagavan Satpati Devakyam Vasudevasya To Yasya Chikirshaya Sutta Janasi Badrante Bhagavan Satvatam Devak Devasya Jato Chikirshaya Sutta Janasi Bhagavan Satvatam Pati Devakyam Vasudevasya Jato Yasya Chikirshaya. Someone else?
Sutta Janasi Bhadram Te Bhagavan Sattvatam Pati Devakyam Vasudevasya Jato Yasya Chikirshaya.
Sham Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Sutta Janasi Bhadram Te Bhagavan Sattvatam Patiha Devakyam Vasudevasya Jato Yasya Chikirshaya. Hare Krishna.
Got it. Anyone else?
Mother Gita.
Sutta Janasi Bhadram Te Bhagavan Sattvatam Patihi Devakyam Vasudevasya Jato Yasya Chikirshaya.
Sutam Janasi Bhadram Te Bhagavan Sattvatam Patihi Devakyam Vasudevasya Jato Yasya Chikirshaya.
Sutta Janasi Bhadram Te Bhagavan Sattvatam Pati Devakyam Vasudevasya Jito Yasha Chikesaya.
Sutta Janasi Bhadram Te Bhagavan Sattvatam Pati Devakyam Vasudevasya Jato Yasya Chikirshaya.
Sutta Janasi Bhadram Te Bhagavan Sattvatam Pati Devakyam Vasudevasya Jato Yasya Chikitsaya. Hare Krishna.
Sutta Janasi Bhadram Te Bhagavan Sattvatam Patihi Devakyam Vasudevasya Jato Yasya Chiktasya. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sutta Janasi Bhadram Te
Anyone else?
Bhagavan. Yeah, Hare Krishna. Sutta Janasi
Got it.
Bhadram Te Bhagavan Sattvatam Pati Devakayam Vasudevasya Jato Yasya Chakishaya. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Sutta Janasi Bhadram Te Bhagavan Sattvatam Patihi Devakyam Vasudevasya Jato Yasya Chikirshaya.
Anyone else? Okay, so I'll do word for word. Sutta, O Sutta Goswami, Janasi, you know, Bhadram all blessings upon you, Bhagavan, personality of Godhead, Sattvatam, of the pure devotees, Pati, the protector, Devakyam, in the womb of Devaki, Vasudevasya, by Vasudeva, Jata, born of, Yasya, for the purpose of, Chikirshaya, executing. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. All blessings upon you, O Sutta Goswami. You know for what purpose the personality of Godhead appeared in the womb of Devaki as the son of Vasudeva. Purport. Bhagavan means the Almighty God, who is the controller of all opulences, power, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. He is a protector of his pure devotees. Although God is equally disposed to everyone, he is especially inclined to his devotees. Sat means the absolute truth, and persons who are servitors of the absolute truth are called sattvatas. And the personality of Godhead who protects such pure devotees is known as the protector of the sattvatas. Bhadramte, or blessings upon you, indicates the sage's anxiety to know the absolute truth from the speaker. Lord Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appeared to Devaki, the wife of Vasudeva. Vasudeva is the symbol of the transcendental position wherein the appearance of the Supreme Lord takes place. Om Agyanatimirandasa Jananjanan Slakaya Chakshumena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. All blessings upon you, O Sutta Goswami. You know for what purpose the personality of Godhead appeared in the womb of David as the son of Vasudeva. So the beginning of this purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about Bhagavan and the meaning of Bhagavan as the Almighty God. So Bhagavan means the Lord possesses, or one, all Bhaga, all the opulences. Bhaga, Van. Van means the one who possesses, and Bhaga means the opulences. Sadaishwarya Purna. It's another way of saying Bhagavan. Sadaishwarya Purna. So he possesses all wealth, strength, fame, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation. Prabhupada many times describes that you find in this someone who has one of these opulences or several of these opulences to a certain degree. And then someone has more than that person. And then someone has more than that person, and so on, so on. Like we might say in this world, this planet right now, there is one richest man, I believe is Jeff Bezos, I think, as far as I remember, who might become the first trillionaire. Like now we have billionaires, and there are thousands and thousands of billionaires. In India, there's some, in Africa, there's some, in America, and all over the world. So one becomes richer than the other, and then they put him on the list of the top. So as far as I remember, the top of the list now is this Jeff Bezos. So very wealthy. But this is just one planet. So they're not aware of other persons on other planets where there might even be more wealth, depending on the quality of that planet. So who is the treasurer of the demigods is, who is that? My mind is slipping. Who's the treasurer of the demigods? Kuber. So Kuber. So Kuber is extremely well situated in wealth. And then you have the king of heaven, Indra. And then you have Lord Brahma. So it becomes more and more powerful. But the ultimate powerful is Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. No one greater than him, even amongst the difference. Therefore, in the Bhagavatam, wonderful verse in the Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam, Indrari Balakalam Lokam, Mridyanti Yuge Yuge. That all the different incarnations that are mentioned in the Bhagavatam, as it says, all the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. The Lord Shri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on planets whenever there is a disturbance created by the atheist. The Lord incarnates to protect the theist. So there's no one greater than Krishna in all his opulences. So in this verse, it is saying, Srila Prabhupada in the purport is saying, Bhagavan means the Almighty God, who is in control of all opulences, power, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. I always find it interesting that renunciation is considered an opulence. You have to think about that for a second. So opulences are generally attractive, like this Aishwarya. So it's very attractive. So how is it that renunciation becomes attractive? when it appears to be the opposite, someone who gives up, who renounces, would appear to be someone who's not very attractive. But we find even in this mundane society, persons who are charitably disposed, persons who give up portions of their wealth, their time, their energy to help others, or various persons, just like on our television world, CNN, they have something every year. They call it CNN Heroes. And these are who have sacrificed for us. And so they give them big exposure and a big celebration and a certain amount of money. So you can tell in the background, there is this attraction to renunciation, even though, again, it sounds difficult. Just like we talk about renounced sort of sannyas. And you can say a sannyasi is not a very attractive kind of position in life, or not a very attractive person. They give up everything, and they, generally speaking, in the ancient times, they live in the forest and they travel from place to place. No particular residence. That's not very attractive because people want to have nice things in their lives, but the sannyasis give up all those things. As Srila Prabhupada said when he initiated his first, I believe, 4 sannyasis, and he told them that you're making a great sacrifice. I believe it was Brahmananda, and I can't remember the other 3. I know Brahmananda was part of their original group. And Srila Prabhupada, he glorified them, and he explained how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he took sannyas, he gave up his young, beautiful wife. Of course, he married twice because his first wife passed away, then the second wife. And then he gave all that up. And his loving mother, he gave all that up to become a sannyasi, to preach his own glory, which is Krishna consciousness. Lord Chaitanya, we know, is Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, coming as a devotee. So he gave it all up to do that. So sannyasi sacrifice. In fact, it's described that when someone takes sannyas, it is described as being technically dead because they leave home and no one in the family knows where they are. And then when they pass away from this world, the family doesn't know. You know, the family doesn't know. Just like we just recently lost a wonderful devotee in our community, and we all know him to some degree. So he's not alone. You know, he didn't pass away in obscurity. So much love and support is there. But a sannyasi, supposedly, technically, no one knows when he dies. So it says technically already dead. So it's not a very attractive position from the mundane spirit. But what I'm trying to point out is that people intuitively, subtly have attraction for renunciation. Why? Because it's one of the qualities of Krishna. Everything about Krishna is natural to everyone, but people just don't know it's Krishna. That's the only problem. It's like bubbling up. The natural attraction of the soul for Krishna just keeps popping up in different ways. As I just explained, renunciation is one of Krishna's qualities. So people are naturally, instinctively, if they become elevated, are attracted to renunciation. Now, those who are not really elevating in the human life, they are repulsed by it. They think it's ridiculous. You give your money to help someone, you try to help someone, that's just ridiculous. Because they haven't, their awareness hasn't improved. But those who are on the path of improving their life, their interests, by different processes. Now, Krishna not the only person can become elevated materially in their awareness. It happens by being humble, respectful, and sacrificing for the sake of others, like it explains in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in the purport to verse 13 and 14. And Srila Prabhupada explains there, maybe it might be verse 12, but in it says that if someone who has no interest in Krishna consciousness gives up the result of his hard-earned money or endeavors, that person's activity is counted as devotional service, and they make gradual advancement. So as people advance in human life, they begin to the natural. So this quality here of renunciation although it seems to be something people would not be interested in, there's a natural tendency to be attracted because it is one of Krishna's. Of course, wealth is easy to understand how people are attracted to wealth, strength, fame, knowledge, beauty, and then renunciation. So then he goes on, excuse me. And then he talks about, now this is the controversial subject. Although God is equally disposed to everyone, he is especially inclined to his devotees. So we know in the, excuse me, 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, this question comes up. How can God be classified as equally disposed to everyone when he killed the demons to protect the devotees? This is not right. This is the first part of the seventh canto. It talks about that. So I was meditating last night, and Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada explains it in so many ways, but this is a real understanding. Krishna, by killing demons and protecting these, can still be called equally disposed to everyone. There's a nice verse in the Bhagavatam about that. So what it is that Srila Prabhupada says that his killing and his saving is the same. If you're lucky to be killed by Krishna, you are so fortunate. Because all those on the battlefield were able to see him, be in his presence. They were all liberated. So his killing and his blessing is the same. Now, outside of the scope of that, because not everyone sees or saw Krishna. So the general mass of people, that is a different thing. They are being controlled by the material energy, Maya. They're going through their cycle of birth and death and so on and so forth. And Krishna has really to do with that. He has so many energies and they're functioning sequentially. Parasya Saktaya Vividhaiva Shrujyate Swabhaviki Jana Bala Kriyata. He has potencies and they're all acting independently by his energy. He doesn't have to do all that. But when it comes to his devotees, he jumps in. When it comes to, just like in the pastime of Bhishma threatening to kill Arjuna if Krishna didn't protect or come down and fight, because Bhishma wanted to see Krishna in that mood. So he fought so valiantly that Krishna had to get off the chariot and pick up a wheel and come after Bhishma. And then Bhishma was so happy to see Krishna in that mood. So another place where Prabhupada says, Krishna tells Arjuna, declare it boldly, Arjuna, that my devotee will not be vain. And Srila Prabhupada explains that I told Arjuna to declare it because Arjuna's word would be respected, but Krishna not, because sometimes he breaks his own rules for the sake of the devotees. So Srila Prabhupada explains that Krishna told Arjuna, you declare, because your word will be accepted more than mine. Because for my devotee, I will break any rule. There's no rule. When Krishna wants to protect his devotees, you cannot say anything. That's his special flavor. So why does he do that? Pritranaya sadunam vinasaya chuduspitam. Pritas sadunam, to protect his devotees. That's why he comes to this material world. And those devotees that Krishna protects, they're numerous. We know of some. Hey, let's begin with Srila Prabhupada. Sometimes we begin from the ancient times. Prahlad, this one, that one. But let's begin with Srila Prabhupada. How did Krishna protect Srila Prabhupada? Of course, he had many physical difficulties at his age, with his family, with his business. Everything was causing him troubles at one point. So you may question, how did Krishna protect him when he had so many problems? Because we ourselves, sometimes we think, well, Krishna must have forsaken me because I'm having difficulties. And I wanted to, in the beginning of the class, that I want everyone to keep in your prayers the Pankajangri Prabhu in Mayapur, one of the twins who've been taking care of the deities for decades. And now he's going through some great difficulty with this COVID situation. And I just saw a report today that it's very serious for him. So you might question, is Krishna protecting him? He's serving Lord Nrsingadev. I mean, he and his brother are the main pujaris in Mayapur, taking care of Radha Madhava, the Akis, Lord Nrsingadev, Panchatattva. Why doing this? Just like His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj, what he's going through physically. Why is Krishna doing that? Jayapataka Maharaj told me one time, in fact, he was describing to devotees in Atlanta. He said, Krishna will give you so many tests. One test after so many tests, with a smile on his face. And then he will give you one big test, and then no more tests. Because he's testing to see who remember me in the midst of suffering. And the classic example is who? With her sons. This went through. And in fact, this was described by Bhishma, how much suffering they went through, how much they sacrificed for the service of the Lord. And the Lord was always there to protect them. But it didn't look like it because, as Prabhupada describes, they tried to burn them in the house of, they tried to poison them, demons to destroy them. But Krishna was always there in some form of. So Srila Prabhupada, when he was coming to America and he was experiencing heart attacks, the difficulties of traveling on a commercial ship, not a cruise ship, at his age, 69, and then he turned 70 on his birthday on the boat. And then he had those heart attacks. And then Krishna showed him, assured him in a dream, I am taking care of you, don't worry. Even though it felt like a suffering situation, Krishna's telling him, I'm taking care of you. Prabhupada says very clearly, not because you surrender to Krishna, you will not have any material problems. You're in the material problems. The body, the mind feeble, everything will just, it just gradually. But those things are impetuses for the surrender more to Krishna. See, when we have a good situation, good body, good health, good money, good friendship, the tendency to become complacent. We all experience that. So things come, we tend to become a little more reflective. We start thinking about life and maybe this, that. I was thankful that when I was young, before in the movement, I had an experience within 2 years that three persons close to me died. My mother, my brother, years. It was very traumatic, very, very traumatic. But I couldn't turn my to God. I turned my attention away from God. But in the back of my mind, I was thinking more to life. I didn't think so, but just maybe there's something more to life. I began to reflect on things, values. And that's when I met devotees who showed me that this material world is meant for suffering. But the suffering is God's way of pushing you in to realize that. So he protected Srila Prabhupada. He protected on that. She tried to defend herself against insurmountable, but she could not. And when she finally realized, I cannot do it, then she just surrendered to Krishna. Hey, Govinda. And then Krishna supplied, as we know, all the sari to protect her dignity or chastity. Then, of course, Prahlad has the example. I was describing, it's very interesting. The other day, because I'm staying at their home right now, so he brought one friend from karate class. Nice young man. And he was 14 years old. His name was Matt. Yeah, Matt. So he went downstairs in the basement of Sukadapu's house and he saw a picture of Lord Nrsingadev. So he asked Adisesh, who is that? And Adisesh did the loving thing. He brought him right up to my room where I'm sitting now. He said, Balabaja, can you explain this to him? I said, Adisesh, you explain it to him. No, you explain it to him. And then he left me with this young man. So I spent 45 minutes with him, this young man, and explaining to him in great detail about the pastimes of Lord Nrsingadev and how this demon father of Prahlad was an abuser, and the suffering that Prahlad went through, and boiling in the oil and throwing off the cliffs of mountains, and putting under the foot of an elephant and poisoning cake. And the young man was so fascinated. He was so fascinated. He really, really appreciated hearing the struggles of what this young boy had gone through and being protected by God. It just made a lot of sense to him. So the sufferings of a devotee are not ordinary. They are perfectly orchestrated by the Lord for the advancement of the devotee. So as we are suffering in our lives, if we can follow in the footsteps of Prahlad and Draupadi, and especially Kunti. If we follow in their footsteps, then we can always be in a blissful state of consciousness, never confused. Queen Kunti, in clear consciousness, what did she say? She said, let these sufferings happen again and again and again. Because while suffering, I'm forced to remember you. And by remembering you, this process of remembering you, I will no longer have to see this cycle of birth and death. She was so intelligent because she said herself, I'm a woman, what do I know? I'm just a woman. But she had the greatest intelligence because she understood that this suffering is arranged by the Lord for my benefit, so I can make advancement. And the list goes on. So Kunti, Prahlad, Draupadi, Srila Prabhupada, Arjuna, so many great personalities. But even in our humble lives, that Krishna places these obstacles before us so that we can remember him, make progress. Now,
Hare Krishna,
also in
Bhagavatam.
this purport.
Yes. Real quick, I'm sorry.
Yes,
I apologize to interrupt. It seems like there's a little bit of instability in the internet because your voice kind of comes on and comes off. It cuts on and cuts off a little bit.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. Sometimes it happens.
Let me
programs.
Let me take. I can take off this headset. I'll take off the headset. Maybe that's better.
Okay. What I was going to say.
Should I do that?
Sometimes the video takes up a lot of space. The video, even though we like to prefer to see you, that it may actually work if you go on. You take yourself off of the video, and we just hear your voice.
Let me see.
And we'll see if that works better.
Is that better?
I think
Is that better?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah.
I mean, I could take off this, like I said, the head.
Maybe the headset. It's a sign came up that said the bandwidth is low, meaning I guess I guess the usage of there may be multiple people in the house using at the same time. Adeshesh is probably in school and.
Can you say something, John? There you go.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, why don't we try this? Hare Krishna.
Give me 1 second. I don't know. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, I can't hear. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Oh boy.
And I apologize.
Yeah, I'm not hearing anything myself. I don't know what it is. But can you hear me, Donna?
I can hear you, yes. I'm going to give you the thumbs up.
Yeah. I'm not hearing anything on my speaker. Hang on a second.
We can hear you. Thank you.
He can't hear us telling him that we
can
can
turn something off here. 1 second. Bluetooth is on. Bluetooth is off. Yeah, my speaker, I'm not hearing. So as long as you can hear me, I guess it's okay. I just can't hear you. But you can hear me okay, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, okay. So.
You can't hear us telling you that we can hear you.
So I'm just finishing up this thought about, no, you can't hear? You shaking your head?
No, yes. Positive. Thumbs up.
Okay. Like this or like that? So anyway, so Krishna protects his devotees. That's the main point there. And the next part,
I hope you can hear me because this part is really important. The last thing he talks about, but two things, Bhadram Te, or blessings upon you, that indicates the sages. So on that part, it says the sages were anxious, but here's an important thing. They were not anxious for their own material benefit. It's very, very important. They were not anxious for their own material benefit. It says, Bhadram Te, or blessings upon you, indicates the sage's anxiety to know the absolute truth from the speaker. So that anxiety to know Krishna, to understand Krishna, to serve Krishna, that is wanted. Not the sages were in anxiety about, okay, please, Sutta, tell us what's going to be good for us. How can we enjoy in this world? Please bless us that we'll have a good situation. No, they were anxious to know about Krishna. In other words, they were in anxiety to know about Krishna, which is so important. That anxiety is purifying. It destroys all this material attachments within our hearts. It's like the verse we always quote, Srinvata Swakata Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana, Ridyantastoya Badrani, Vidunoti Srisitam. So the Lord is in the heart, and when he sees that we have developed this desire to hear about him, this interest in hearing about him, he helps us become situated in Krishna consciousness. He helps to remove all those things, negative things from our heart. So that's such an important point, that the sages were in anxiety, but they were in anxiety to understand or hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, the last point in the purport, it was, for me, somewhat, not confusing, but just a little bit difficult to comprehend. And I'll read it again. It's just the last part of the purport. Lord Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appeared to Devotee, the wife of Vasudeva. Vasudeva is the symbol. Now listen to each word, okay? And help me with this. Vasudeva is the symbol of the transcendental position wherein the appearance of the Supreme Lord takes place. Now, on first glance, I didn't quite understand that. I had to think about that for a second. Does anyone on the call, because you can see the verse in purport itself, does anyone have an understanding of what that says? That Vasudeva is the symbol of the transcendental position wherein the appearance of the Supreme Lord takes place. Anyone have any idea on that? I can't really see. Sorry for my. Jonah, you have any thoughts on that?
I'm trying to put it together in my mind to try to understand what that. It sounds like a very nice statement. I just don't know if I could interpret that for the benefit of everyone, or explain that to the benefit of the transcendental position.
I can try.
Hi, Bo.
Hare Krishna. I'm thinking that Krishna appeared in the womb of Devaki because Vasudeva was very transcendental. He was a pure devotee. That's what I think. Thank you.
Yes. But let's, excuse me, so sorry. But listen to these words again. Vasudeva is the symbol. This is where, this is the interesting part. Vasudeva is the symbol of the transcendental position. Symbol of the position. It's just interesting. Gita, you have any thoughts on that?
I'm thinking about it, and probably because Vasudev is a pure devotee. I mean, Krishna appearing through him, that itself puts him in a position, transcendental position, that he is that pure that the Lord agreed to come. And that's all I can think of right now.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's a nice reflection. Someone else. Let's share this meditation. It's a deep meditation. Someone else?
Yes, Prabhu. Vasudev ji actually performed so much tapasya for so many years, like living on the leaves and standing on one leg and all those things. So that way, his purity was so much and transcendental position was so high that Lord accepted to be his children, because that was their desire actually. Vasudev and Devaki had desire that Krishna should come as their child. So that's why to fulfill that desire, and that's why it's a symbol of their position. Nobody can be parents of Lord Krishna actually. It's very hard to get that position, and it's already occupied, So even somebody tries so hard to get that position that Krishna will be playing in my backyard, that is not possible actually. So that's what he made the symbol, Vasudev ji became the symbol of that kind of position. That's what is written about it.
Very nice. Very nice. Some more. Anyone else? This is beautiful reflections.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
So, all the devotees directly said already. So, as per my knowledge, I am also trying, Prabhuji. So, Krishna is the Bhakta Vatsal and Krishna is the Bhavagrahi. So, to keep the words of, like the devotees, since Vasudev and Devaki from the previous life itself, they were, praying very rigorously to get Lord from their womb as a son. So to keep the word of, like Devaki and Vasudev, Krishna appeared to show the mercy on the devotee. So to please the devotee, Krishna appeared with the womb of the Devaki and Vasudev. And since because Krishna wanted to appear, so he just clean up the seven childs from the Devaki wombs, and he made that the transcendental position there with the Devaki and Vasudev. So this is my understanding, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Nice. This is becoming a nectarian exchange. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I was actually also wondering about that last line. I was going to ask you to, but like everybody else is saying, I think the purport leading up to the last line is talking about the sattvatas. Who are the sattvatas? They are the ones who serve the absolute truth. And the sattvatas' anxiety is to help all the fallen souls.
Yes.
And like Kaivalya Prabhu said, Vasudev performed so many austerities to gain that position to be his father. And the austerities were not, again, like we were saying, those sages were not doing it for their own benefit. They were doing it for everybody else's benefit. And the first line said, Bhagavan is full of all opulences. He takes care of his pure devotees, and he is partial to his pure devotees. He's inclined to protect his devotees. And I think that is what Vasudev was trying to do. And so the symbol of Vasudev is somebody who is trying to protect everybody, or who is looking for the well-being of everybody, not their own personal self. And I see Goloknatha Mataji has raised her hand. So
yes, please go ahead.
Oh, Hare Krishna. Everybody has said very nicely. I just want to say, when Krishna appears, he always appears with his entourage, and he chooses his parent. And this parent, they perform so many austerities, like everybody is telling, and they have accumulated so much pious activities, Kita Punya Punya. like I said, one verse in Bhagavatam said, so, and like we heard that the Vasudeva and Devaki in the previous life, they were Prishni and Sutapa.
Mm.
You know, they undergo so much, austerities to have Krishna as a son. So that was, they were very fortunate when Krishna appeared. Krishna chose them to be his parent.
Wow. That's so beautiful. I mean, I found something. I was looking at this last night, but because it wasn't troubling. It was just interesting. The word choice, transcendental position, just like I guess my setup this morning for the class is not in a real good position. It's not working properly. It's like something's just not working. So what is that transcendental position wherein the appearance of the Lord takes place? What is it? So I was reading something very beautiful from the Namamrita, Sri Namamrita, the compilation of the glories of the holy names. And I want to read this because it's so beautiful. It's a little bit, not too long, but it'll take about a minute. So listen to it. Since the holy name is Krishna himself, the chanting of the holy name invokes remembrance, excuse me, remembrance of and association with Krishna himself. Recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance, samadhi, are the 5 stages in progressive remembrance of Krishna, Krishna Smarana. In conscious remembrance, the devotee feels the presence of the Lord as a transcendental, mystical fact. Listen to that. In conscious remembrance, as we talked about Vasudeva and Devaki, in their understanding of the Lord, their meditation on the Lord, conscious remembrance. That means we have to be consciously remembering Krishna, thinking about him. The devotee feels the presence of the Lord as a transcendental, mystical fact. When the devotee chants the holy name, all the Lord's transcendental opulences, we just talked about that, his divine form, activities, qualities, and so on, become manifest within the devotee's heart. Indeed, Krishna himself appears. And that just described the position in which Krishna himself appears. When we consciously remember him, start to feel his presence, and then chant his holy names, thinking about his opulences, then the Lord appears in the heart of the devotee. Indeed, Krishna himself appears. My dear Narada, I do not actually reside in my abode, Vaikuntha, nor within the hearts of the yogis. I reside where my pure devotees chant my holy name and discuss my form, pastimes, and qualities. Side note from Balabhadra, just like this Srimad Bhagavatam class here that we're having today. Krishna must be with us because all of you are sharing your thoughts, your meditations on him about, but Vasudeva and Devaki and Krishna. Krishna must be here with us right now. And that was from the Padma Puran. Thus, the devotee's consciousness becomes attracted to Lord Krishna. Along with remembrance, association, and attraction, the devotee's attitude of service to the Lord develops. And in an advanced stage, the devotee engages directly in the service of the Lord in the spiritual realm, even while situated within the material body. Remember that. He's engaging in the service of the Lord in the spiritual realm while in this material body. In the last part, thus, through pure devotional chanting of the holy name, the devotee directly realizes the presence of the Lord and enters the deepest mysteries of God consciousness. So that's what it was. This last line was like a mystery. And now by sharing our realizations, we're uncovering that mystery. We're getting a deeper understanding of it so that we can increase our remembrance of the Lord, thinking of the Lord, sharing between each other the glories of the Lord. And then that becomes the transcendental position wherein the appearance of the Supreme Lord takes place. So it was so wonderful when it just sort of manifested in my heart, this understanding, and you all confirmed it from what you were saying this morning. So thank you so much. It's so beautiful. So I want to stop there and see if there are any other thoughts or any questions. Jonah?
Krishna Balabhadra Prabhu. Thank you for a very nice class. Very stimulating, these different subject matters. You spoke about the protection, and we have a couple hands up. We'll get to you just in a second. Of the devotees Krishna has for his devotees, and sometimes this is interpreted as, I guess, material protection of the body that a devotee has, and we've seen from examples that that's not, I guess, always the case. That we see people that have surrendered to the Lord, even just modern day examples, that they've maybe were considered to leave their bodies prematurely. You know, Samal Krishna Maharaj being one of them, or
right.
Jayananda Prabhu, you know, left early. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, you know, some of these, encounter diseases or, accidents, etc. So how do we understand, when Krishna says, he's there to protect his devotees, and then we see, some devotees leave their the situation here early. How do we understand, what does that protection really mean when Krishna says he's protecting his devotees?
Well, in some cases, it does mean protecting their physical presence. Like in the case of Arjuna, he protected him from being killed by Bhishma, physically protected him. So that one type of protection is also there. And in Srila Prabhupada's case, Krishna told him, he had those heart attacks, and Krishna said, no, we're taking care of you, protecting you, your physical presence in this world for your service. But the underlying principle is that, as you mentioned, so many wonderful Vaishnavas left this world. That's Krishna's arrangement. And from my understanding, in some cases, Krishna wants them to come back to him. In the case of Srila Prabhupada in his last days, he said, Krishna gives me the choice. I can stay or leave. And then he told the devotees, because they kept saying, please don't leave us, Srila Prabhupada. Please don't leave us. We're not ready. ISKCON is not ready for you to leave. And then Prabhupada told them, all right. You have a meeting, you make a decision. Tell me what you want. And they had a meeting, and they decided in the meeting, if Krishna gives Srila Prabhupada the choice, then we say he should stay. And they went back and told Prabhupada what they had decided. And then Prabhupada said, okay, kind of like nonchalantly, okay. Because for him, staying or going is the same. Narada Muni, like he says, heaven or hell is the same. So on the external side, our side, we see, it seems to be some contradiction here. Krishna says he's protecting, but look, he's taking away. But from the devotee's side, he sees Krishna's putting me in his loving hands. Please take me, my Lord. And great Vaishnavas, they pray like that. While I'm young, I forget which Vaishnava said that. Please take me while I'm young and healthy, and I can think of you now. Take me now. So the devotee that never feels that Krishna has neglected them by having physical difficulties, material difficulties, financial difficulties, health difficulties, they see it as the blessings of the Lord. And as I always give that simple little Christian concept where it says, when God wants to send you a gift, he wraps it up in a problem. It looks like a problem, but it's really a gift. Why? And Prabhupada sums it up so beautifully. Suffering is a symptom of God's love. It took a while for me to capture that. But once I did capture that, I understood. When a mother or father spanks a child, that's suffering, but it's a symptom of love. We know that. We know that because we're trying to protect. We're protecting our children by giving some chastisement. Krishna's protecting us by not allowing us to become attached to this situation. So he makes it difficult to see if we're ready to make advancement. Just like in a football practice or any kind of practice, it's difficult. The coach is always pushing. Or the sergeant in the military is pushing, causing pain. Why? So you'll become stronger. So that's my understanding, that from the external vision of persons who are not very advanced, they see suffering for the devotee. But from the internal vision, we see love from Krishna, using that devotee, like Haridas Thakur, using that devotee to teach a lesson to the entire universe. Or in the case of our dear Jagataka Maharaj, who's still physically with us and going through so much difficulty,
He is indeed inspiring devotees all over the planet. And right now, our dear God Brother Pankajangri, still thinking of Krishna, still glorifying Krishna in the midst of intense suffering. So that's my understanding of that. So anyone else?
Thank you, Prabhupada. So you have Mother Vatsala, you had your hand up first, and then right after her, Mother Gita.
Yeah, my humble obeisances to you, Prabhu.
Jai, accept my
glories to
obeisances.
Srila Prabhupada. Humble
Hari
pranam.
Bol.
Prabhu, I'm kind of a little saddened because I did know late Mother Leela Avatar. She liked me. I liked her a lot. And I know her husband. The things that happened, I cannot, I was asking Krishna, why are you letting this happening to the devotees? He was a humble soul and he served you. And in spite of all that, why didn't you not make him feel better? Any problem, anything, if people would have solved it, because we are out there as a community, I would have gone there to help people because I have helped in the past 35 years back or 40 years back. People, the ladies going through some issues. And I feel really saddened by this, really, because I knew them well. I loved Leela Avatar. I liked her way of dealing with me and dealing with others, the humble service they have done. And it saddens me a lot why even one person cannot reach out and be there with him all the time when they are going through this crisis. Why wasn't the Philadelphia crisis unit notified? If somebody goes through the trouble, you have hotline to call them up. And we lost such a nice person, nice devotee. And my heart goes out to them, goes out to anybody not being there for them.
So let me say this. I think
please, tell me why Krishna did not protect that individual, give him strength. Tell me that, please.
Well, number one, Krishna was always there. But number two, save that meditation, because we have an entire segment this evening where devotees are going to express their heart, open up deeply about this wonderful devotee and share their realization. So let's save that energy for this evening. But just from the simple side of understanding it, how did Krishna allow this to happen is really the question. But that's really not the question. Krishna is not causing these things to happen. These are choices that we make in the course of our devotional service. And I think the devotees are always there for each other. I know Haryasva Prabhu is always working with this particular devotee, and those who knew him were close with him. But sometimes we're going through these great difficulties in our lives. And no matter what I say or you say, things may still happen. We know it happens, throughout many, many times. So let's not think that devotees were not loving or caring, but some things are out of our hand. We don't know why Krishna allowed this to happen. So let's not go down the road of saying, well, if we had done this and if we had done, possibly, yes, but if Krishna wants to take you, kill you, no one can save you. Because Krishna is death. Time I am, the destroyer of all worlds. I've come to engage all men. That's Krishna. And the other thing is, we have to see Krishna in that. Whenever there's a death, that is Krishna. Krishna's reasoning is beyond our understanding. I will not attempt to try to explain why did that happen. I don't know. I know how we should respond in love and support and prayer. What Krishna does is his business. It's not your business or my business. He is death. He is death. When death happens, that's Krishna. I can't question him because he is death. And the reasonings are way beyond our understanding. So again, let's save a lot of that for this evening. It'll be a wonderful time to share your hearts and open up in love and support, and for as much clarity as we can hope to get. So thank you so much for bringing it up. Thank you, Donna. I think you said Gita had a question or something?
Yeah, Mother Gita had a question. The only thing, if I could just add to that real quick.
Please, go right ahead.
Sometimes, when situations like this happen, it's natural to try to jump to assumptions. got a text privately from somebody saying, this you can just tell that the mindset just kind of goes into certain assumptions and that can be dangerous, because if you don't know, the situation, like you said, you just go down a pathway. So the medical, in this particular case, there's a lot of information that a lot of people are unaware of, trying to medical care that he was attempting to get, and how all that was interacting. So hindsight is always 20/20, but at the same time, it's an unfortunate situation when we start to speculate on situations that we really don't know about, and that only creates more hurt and kind of more sadness. So I would just, as you mentioned, just try to kind of prevent that from happening. I remember when Bhakti Isa left us, and there was one of the devotees was very, very angry, and they didn't know the situation at all, and they were making all these accusations, and we just have to be very careful about that. It's a very sensitive topic, and I humbly ask the devotees to, if you want to know, inquire, but please don't speculate, don't jump to conclusions. You can inquire from Haryashra Prabhu, can reach out to myself. Mother Sangeeta, she's a grief counselor and is trained in understanding these topics. I just humbly ask that people just don't just speculate on stuff. That's all.
Okay. Geeta?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances.
Jai, accept my base, Lord Sri Prabhupada.
Thank you so much for the nice lecture.
Thank you.
I have a question. It might sound very silly. I apologize for that. But, is there a shortcut to get attracted to Krishna?
Yes, great question. Very wonderful question. The shortcut is, what verse is that? It's so difficult because I have my phone in my hand. I can't really turn the pages so well. So I really apologize for my technical difficulties, but I'll be back in Atlanta next week, and hopefully it'll be a little bit better. So in the second chapter, the shortcut is 2 verses. Okay. Yeah. Verse 16, second chapter. Shushusho Shradanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Shan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nisevana. For twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely free from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. And of course, the next verse talks about when you start to hear those verses from that Glories, the Lord helps you in the heart. So the shortcut is serving the devotees who are, as described here, completely freed from all vice. Now that's a difficult metric because you don't want to run around looking at devotees trying to judge them. Okay, who's serving, who's not serving, blah, blah, blah. It becomes a little difficult. But you start with your own spiritual master. And of course, we have Srila Prabhupada, who we know so elevated, and we can always serve him by serving within his movement, doing the things he wanted within the scope of the 7 purposes. We're always serving Prabhupada. If we follow his vision, we're serving him, and then serving the devotees. But especially it says those devotees who are free from all vice, and the vices are so many. So that to me is the shortcut. And also that verse that says, Mahat Sevam Dwaram Ahur Vimuktes. The door of liberation is open. It's like when you open the door, it's a second. Just turn the knob, open the door, and you go right through. So what is that knob? What is that door? Mahat Sevam Dwaram Ahur Vimuktes. Vimukte, that liberation is achieved by opening that door, going through that door, that gate. Like in India, they have all these beautiful temples with these big gates. And you just take, a moment to walk through that gate, and then you're in the holy dham of, whichever place that you might be going to. Or like Krishna Balaram temple, that beautiful gate You just walk through and you're in this beautiful, wonderful place. So that is the shortcut that I understand, is to accelerate your advancement by serving the devotees who are free from all vice, but pretty much you can serve any devotee who's serving in this process of Krishna consciousness sincerely. And that will help you make advancement quickly. The long path is the path of so-called philosophical acquisition. That's good. Philosophical acquisition in the sense that I'm just going to, sort of read my way back to Godhead. Sure, I mean, that's because you want to nasta price about Suit, but you may not know that in the beginning, when the Bhagavatam was first being printed, the verse used to read, by regularly hearing Bhagavatam or reading Bhagavatam. And then Srila Prabhupada noticed that devotees were not attending the classes to hear in the association of devotees. Therefore, the editing was later by regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees. So this is the process which accelerates our spiritual advancement. And you remember, Gita, when we heard from Srila Prabhupada in the Srila Prabhupada Super Saturday, he was in Australia, and someone asked him, how long does it take to become liberated or something like that? And he said, 1 second. I mean, you can't get any shorter than that, just 1 second. And that process is serving the devotees of the Lord and the Lord, of course. So is that okay?
Yes, thank you so much, Prabhu.
Haribo. Drona?
Any other questions from the devotees? If not, we can conclude here. Thank you, Balabhadra Prabhu. Even though we got a chance to see your smiling face earlier, we're left with this beautiful picture of
Shyamsundar.
Shyamsundar, which you had told us that when Srila Prabhupada saw this picture, he said that this was what did he say exactly when he saw this picture?
This painting resembles Krishna as he really is because of the color and the threefold bending form. That's really the closest kind of depiction, I guess that's the right word, of Krishna in his transcendental form. Because in the beginning, devotees were making different paintings and trying to understand. But this one, from what I've heard, and I've tried to find a reference, I'll keep looking for it. Prabhupada referred to this one as the one that most closely resembles Krishna in his actual form. It's just so beautiful, especially the threefold bending aspect and that color. That color is like so incredible, So yeah, I love that picture. And then remember, Prabhupada said these paintings are like windows to the spiritual world, right? Just like seeing the spiritual world. So amazing.
Thank you again for this wonderful class, for your time. And it was really great seeing you. When are you leaving to go back to Atlanta?
Sunday morning, so I'll be back in Atlanta next week. And I apologize for all the quote unquote technical difficulties in the last two calls, but yeah, hey, really nice, that's Krishna. Krishna had a plan.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
No, Krishna's plan was for me to get off the camera and you guys to speak the message that you shared. That was his plan. So we are in ecstasy right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for a nice class.
We enjoyed the class. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Learned a lot of things, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. See you all tonight.
So tonight, just as a reminder.
Yeah, please.
We typically would have our Srila Prabhupada Leela night and the Brahma Samhita recitation. That won't happen tonight. It will resume next Thursday. So tonight there'll be a memorial service for Vishnu Radhana Prabhu instead. So we hope that you can attend that and hear about the life and the service of Vishnu Radhana Prabhu.
What time it starts, Prabhu?
There'll be RT at 6:30, and then 7 o'clock there'll be different devotees. So we're going to primarily hear from his god brothers and god sisters that served with him. I believe his spiritual master Satsrup Maharaj has a an address. It's going to be pre-recorded that he's going to give as well. So that's going to be most of what we hear is from some of his God brothers and God sisters, as well as some Srila Prabhupada disciples that served with him in the 70s and 80s and knew him during those times.
It's only in Zoom, Prabhu?
Yeah, it's on Zoom. So some of his family's coming to the temple. Devotees that really do him well, we're having, can come, are able to come to the temple, but because it's mostly, so his family is going to, some of his physical families, or biological family, I should say, is going to be there. Some devotees are going to be there to do the kirtans, etc., and who are preparing the arrangements. Because of COVID, we can't have so many people come in, and we want to make sure that for his biological family, they have, enough space and room.
Thank you.
So, thank you, devotees.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Jai.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, everybody.
Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhophi vachapatitanam
you.
pavanebhyo
Hare Krishna.
vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
very much.
Hare
Appreciate it.
Krishna.